What's up, twisted people? Twisted people talking about charmed people, the charmed ones. Yes. Hey everyone, I'm your girl Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR, and joining me here is you're not seeing things. It's not one of the women warriors from Wakanda. The Dora warriors from the Wakanda is my mama, and she's a warrior in and of herself. She did the big chop, y'all. You know, she's rocking the baldy like the beautiful Black woman that she is. You know, starting something new for 2021. I was like fashion forward. We love to see it. My mama here doing the darn thing. I just keep saying, a minute you messaged me with the picture after you went to go get it done. I was just like, Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
I love it. Yeah. So we are talking today about Charmed episode 7 of season 3. And I want to first and foremost say thank you to all of you who are joining us in the live chat. It's always a pleasure to talk about, storytelling with you all, because that's what we do here. And also those of you who are joining us in the replay, and even the dog outside my place that is yelping, my neighbor's dog. Don't mind it, y'all. It'll shut up in a little bit. Outside, we love all the good vibes and everything. And people are loving my mama's big chop. You know, Stephanie saying mom looks good. I did the big chop last year. Jayla saying you look amazing. Oh, you know, yeah. I agree, y'all. I agree. You know, back in the day when I was growing up, my mom was also fashion forward in the sense that she used to rock the Jerry curl. And that was also a big deal. My mom used to rock the Jerry curl, y'all. You know, so glow. She used to do it. So it's no surprise that she'd be rocking the baldy now, you know, doing the big chop, Wakanda forever. So, you know, I want to pose to you all I want to pose to you all the question of who you think is running the Tomb of Chaos, because that was the question that was posed there. And overall, you know, so marinate on that for a little bit, so we can kind of figure, you know, what your thoughts are on that. And then, you know, overall, the other question is, you know, where does this leave the sisters? We got a lot of sisterly things together. And it's very interesting because, you know, I think a lot of us had been a little worried that they were going to be so separated out for the majority of the season, right? That there would be an A plot, B plot, C plot, and it will always be with different sisters dominating it, right? And in this particular case, that was not the case. They actually did a very interesting, you know, way, or innovative way, I should say, of having all the sisters on the same plot line, but also in their own same kind of world that they're dealing with right now. So, you know, lady, what are your overall thoughts of this episode?
Well, when it first came on, Maggie was sitting on the floor, and then she had that glimpse of what's her name coming in. She, you know, closed the door or whatever. Then when she went downstairs trying to look for her sisters, and then when the room changed, I like, oh, I thought it was good. And, you know, this was going to be I like this one. I like this whole, it was really good. And the way that they kept changing rooms. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be good. You know, it was good. That was a good episode, especially with the sisters.
Yeah.
But it felt like, and then you know, with Maggie, you know, how they both, did they come into I was just trying to figure out, how did they come into the house? Was they in the house already?
Well, they figure that they deal with that later on, but that's the details of it, you know, which we'll get into. So you're saying overall you like this episode. Would you say this was your favorite episode of the season so far, or would you say it was up there?
No, I think it was up there, because in a way it brought back what they was at, you know, they came together, you know, they tried to figure it out on each one. And I like that. They was coming together, even though they couldn't touch. When Maggie realized she went to touch them, and then they told her no, and they, you know, bounced back. So, you know, it was good.
Zay is saying in the chat, thanks for joining us in the chat, Zay. Can I say this before anyone else says it? Just for fun, clear throat. It's Abigail. She's the one who caused all of this. Because if you've seen any of these streams before, and if you haven't, thanks for joining us. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, and to subscribe if you haven't already. But if you've seen some of our other live streams, and I feel like Abby is kind of the go-to for figuring someone's doing something shady. So I think Zay wanted to beat everyone to the punch on that regard.
Get that over with.
Yeah. So Stephanie is saying
Abigail.
Yeah, exactly. It's either Abigail did it or poor Abigail a little bit. I think those are the two kind of factions that go on in the fandom a little bit. Stephanie is saying, I think that it's either the original Charm ones who had to separate the source from the tree to build the fifth dimension prison, which that would be interesting.
Yeah. But did they have the prism, or was they trying to break the prism?
The prison?
No, it was like they was talking about a prism, like a cute little, like they was in a prism, going from room to room. That's why I was thinking, how did they find the prism? I mean, was they trying to close it before then?
What prism are you talking about? Are you talking about the prison or the prism?
Prism. Isn't it the prism? Or was
what prism?
I thought it was like they had. See, that's where it confused me at when I was looking.
I think it was a prison. I think it was literally the fifth dimension was a prison. That's what it was.
Yeah. So they was trying to find a way to close it.
The way to get out. Yeah. But we'll get into that in the details of it. Ray is saying this was a great Macy and Mel episode, which we need more of these two bonding. We need a Macy and Mel power swap episode. That would be interesting. Damie is already saying that this episode was brilliant. Yeah, let us know in the chat, y'all, and also in the replay if you're watching this. Thanks for watching it. What did you think of this episode? Did you think this was the best one thus far? Do you think this was up there, or were you kind of like, this is okay episode so far, and things like that? Stephanie saying, or the prison being built created magic in the first place, and maybe a god is responsible for this. So there's a lot of thoughts going on when it comes to just who's behind the tomb of chaos. Blue Wolf is kind of echoing a little bit what my mom was saying about the prism or the maze. Blue Wolf is saying they were basically trapped in a maze that time and space. I thought it was very creepy. It was very much a waking nightmare. That's why I said on my Twitter that it was kind of like how dreams work, where you're in one place and as soon as you walk out of the door, you're somewhere else. And of course, in your dream, your brain doesn't go through how you got to the place. You're just suddenly somewhere else. So it was very much like that, which was interesting. Ray is saying this episode really made me see Macy as Prue with the sisterhood and in her boss mode with Damn. Yeah, I agree with that. I've always felt like Macy was the lead sister in a way. And they kind of market it that way. And that, I think it's fine because I love Macy. And, it's always cool that a Black woman witch is like the lead of a supernatural show. So I don't mind that. But it definitely showed through a bit here with that. Damien is saying, I think the writing of this episode was very good. And I love the transition from their house to safe space. Melania is saying, I enjoyed the Macy Mel combos. The mind bending was crazy. Hard to determine what was real and what wasn't. Zay is saying, in the first season, the sisters were stuck in their own prisons, but I feel like this one was better since it was only them. It also gave us more Mel and Macy, which is neat. And, it's interesting people are bringing up the Mel and Macy dynamic, because I think that's a dynamic that, it's interesting. The writers, they touch on it every so often. Occasionally we get, that episode where the two of them kind of have to deal with each other.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it doesn't always stay consistent though, right? It's more so, it happens every so often. And then the next time it's like Mel and Maggie, and then Macy and Maggie, or Macy and Harry, or Macy and other party, or something like that. And, it's interesting because I do want to see more Macy and Mel bonding, because I do think they have, kind kind of a dynamic that's interesting, that kind of butt heads a little bit, that's not necessarily always on the same page. At the same time, though, I think it's kind of realistic in a way that they're not super like, let's always be around each other either, because sometimes that's how the chips fall. You know, it's a 3-person type of thing, Trinity. And so, you know, sometimes you're going to have the ones that are a little bit closer than others. So I'm not exactly for forcing them together all the time, but when they are together, I do find it to be an interesting dynamic. Jayla is saying, since it seems like we're mythology, I'm thinking the prison was created by the original charmed ones who are the fates in the mythology. That would be interesting. That the charmed ones were actually the fates who knew about destiny and things like that, which was interesting because Maggie was listening to her yoga meditation thing, talking about destiny and creating your own destiny. So, that'll be interesting if that was the case. Stephanie is saying, I really like how we progressed the plot this episode. Definitely my favorite this season. Erica, the Jimmy lover, Erica, who we always love to see in the chat, is saying, I love that sweet moment with that picture of Macy with the girls and their mom. And that's sweet. We are a family moment. Yeah, that was great. And I like the fact that they reemphasize that because, you know, it was a little, we'll get to it, but it was an interesting moment when Macy was the first to say, well, that's a glitch, because of course Macy was never able to take a picture with her mom, right? Yeah. And that was a point of contention in season 1 in a way with them, like the idea that Macy felt like the odd sister out. So it was interesting that they pointed that out. And then at the end of the episode, Mel added a new picture of the 3 of them together. And I thought that was touching, because it was kind of a deal where you had a picture where Macy wasn't included of the 2 girls, of Maggie and Mel with their mother, and then Macy wasn't included, right? And that's the family photo. So I thought that was touching that that they added that, which shows they pay attention to the details. Occasionally the writers pay attention to really cool details. They just forget some other stuff, and then there's like a lot of plot holes and other things. You know, it's a mixed bag. You take the good and the bad. Ray is saying Macy and Mel is the most problematic of the relationships in the series, besides Marisol being a pathological liar. Well, I don't know if Marisol was a liar. I mean, she cheated, but you know, she kept things behind people's back. Jayla is saying, I do think the writers could do better with Mel and Macy. We get tons of Mel and Maggie and Macy, but barely any Mel and Macy. It's not even. It's definitely not even. At some point, I'm just thinking they're kind of like, guys, just accept it. The 2 of them aren't the closest out of the 3, but they do love each other. And that's kind of how it is. Erica say, now you know what, that was Jimmy, not Harry, when they got out of the prison. Just you wait. My husband is back. He was. I do want to talk on that.
I thought that was Jimmy. I
do want to talk about that, because I did feel like Harry was acting a little weird. Not saying that. I'm not saying it was Jimmy, Erica. Sorry, but I did think it was a little weird how he was portrayed in this episode.
Like you're back, you know,
like you're back, and it's just like, yo, you weren't worried.
Else, you know.
Well, no, more so it's like they were missing for like 4 hours, like. You know, it's kind of weird that he wasn't a little bit more worried, but maybe.
I just didn't understand, where was he?
Maybe waiting for them on the other side, right? You know.
Oh, yeah, but then they showed how they got in there.
Yeah.
They got drawn in there and everything.
Damien is saying, my opinion may not be popular, but I like when Macy and Mel disagree, but make up eventually. Yeah, that's their dynamic. Yeah. What were you about to say, Ma? About where, you know, I think he traced them back to Seattle. That's how he figured out where they were.
Oh, okay. But what I was saying, like, that's how they got in there, because they was trying to figure, they say those words, it would close it. But the words didn't close it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get into the details of it. Jordan Bryan is saying, thanks for joining us, Jordan. I like how Macy got the space for the free legal center. She did that, and Mel protest was everything. Yeah. Yes. We're also talking in the chat about Rupert's swagger, the actor who plays Harry. there's a little love for Rupert going on. Okay. So I overall, like you, I like this episode. I was a little worried that it was going to be kind of a bottle episode where it was like nothing's really moving forward. This is just a one-off, like a one-off monster that traps people in their dreams or something like that. And then they get vanquished and then we're back at square one. So it was nice to see that the plot did actually move forward, that there were actual revelations that occurred and progress made. So I thought that was good because I liked how things moved forward. But I want to say it was my favorite of the episode. I don't know if I've had a favorite of the episode yet. I definitely think it's been a steady season so far. I will say that. I think it's been a very steady season so far that I'm very happy with. But I haven't had an episode yet where I'm like, whoa, yeah, that was it. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had an episode like that yet, but I've definitely been enjoying everything that everything that we're getting so far. But okay, so let's get into the things that actually happened this episode. So the main thing that was going on this episode was this waking nightmare tomb of chaos that they found themselves in. And so the beginning of the episode started off with a mystery, right? Like you were saying, Ma, Maggie was meditating, trying not to think of Antonio, which we'll talk about when we talk about our ship talk, because we got to talk about ship talk. There wasn't a lot of ship stuff, but there was some ship stuff if you kind of infer things that were going on. But okay, so Maggie's trying to meditate away the premonition that she got, that she's afraid of coming true, because she too, like many of us in the last live stream, interpreted that this premonition was going to be her sleeping with Antonio, and she was totally not for doing that. So she was actively doing that. It wasn't really working. And then we find that it's some weird spot, and that, she's the only one there. No one's around. And, and that's how things start to get kind of weird. Cause then we see it, that Macy's next, and then there's Mel. So we see that they're in a place where no one else is there but them. And I thought that was pretty creepy. I liked that aspect of it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of creepy. This is some kind of world where they're totally off the grid on their own. And I thought it was ingenious because of, what we're dealing with in the real world, where you wouldn't have extras and stuff around this episode. So you wouldn't have to worry about the thing. But I like the dream sequence. Did you kind of already have an idea where things were going, Ma, when you first saw it? Or were you kind of baffled? Like, okay, what is this about?
Well, I wasn't baffled. I figured, okay, when they start going in different rooms, I said, okay, the room, every time when they go to a different room, it changes. Because when they try to get to where one sister is, it changed to another one. Because when Mel, like with Mel and Macy, when she saw Macy, but she had to go to another room and she didn't come out. Then she had to go to another room just to get to where Macy was.
Yeah.
But I thought, I said, okay. So they're in, like, you go in one room, you're in a whole different room.
Yeah. So it was like a dreamscape, right? Like, we've all had dreams where we're in one space and then next thing you know, we're in our childhood home or something like that. I'm like, how did we get here? Yeah. So it definitely, I love the atmosphere of it, because it definitely had kind of this uneasiness where it's like, okay, where is everybody? And so, Macy immediately, Maggie's kind of like, where is everyone? Macy immediately goes into, I need to record what's happening mode, because she has a very scientific kind of brain, an analytical kind of brain with stuff. And of course, Mel doesn't in that regard. She already was smashing windows and breaking, blood and everything, which was interesting, right?
That's because the argument came.
Exactly.
She hit on her about that.
Where there was already this kind of mentality of, where Macy was like, you don't have to always smash everything. Sometimes you just stop and think. And then Mel's like, are you calling me a hothead? And it was weird because I was like, man, there's tension already between them. And then we find out why there was tension, because the funny thing is we learned also that they couldn't remember what had happened up to that point. All they realized was that they were somewhere and they couldn't remember how they got there. They were just there. And so they eventually find Maggie, and, Damie is actually saying in the chat, the tick tick boom thing. Maggie has already kind of lost her head. Like she's lost her memory. She's kind of a little bit crazy. And Maggie, Macy and Mel, pretty much are like, okay, it seems like the longer you're here, because it looked like Maggie had been there for about, I think, what was it, like 42 days? She had been there over a month in her mind, right? Mm-hmm. Maggie had been there for like over a month's time, but she hadn't, of course, out in the real world. And that's kind of how it is in dreams, right? It's like you have a dream, you think it's going on for a long time, and you wake up, it's only been an hour or something like that. Yeah. So you have this moment, and she's like, the tick, tick, boom. And it's like, how many times does the boom happen with the light and things like that? And it's, it's a mystery. It's all just kind of, a big mystery. And Maggie kind of takes them on a journey. Like, I like how Mel was like, she's full Wilson it. She's full on talking to Wilson, which is a reference to Tom Hanks movie. I think it was Stowaway. No, it wasn't Stowaway. What was it? Castaway. Y'all let me know in the chat. What was that movie where Tom Hanks had a volleyball and he loved and he had marked the volleyball with
Castaway.
Was it Castaway? I don't know about y'all, but I cried when Wilson got lost at sea. I definitely cried when the volleyball. No, because he made me love that volleyball. And I was so sad when the ball like left because Tom Hanks made me,
volleyball.
He made, that was good acting. So it was very funny. Thank you, y'all. Y'all letting me know that it was Castaway. Wilson was the volleyball. So it was, so when that happened and Mel said that, I thought that was very funny. I was like, yeah, she was kind of talking to the yoga mat. So that was pretty funny. And then of course, like Zay is pointing out, she takes them down to the meeting room and it's just like buckets and stuff because that's the people for Maggie. And so eventually it kind of becomes clear to them as they're peeling away that there's something going on, that the prison that they seem to be in, they realize that they were trying to get to the prison and somehow they had gotten there, but they weren't sure how Maggie had gotten there before them. And, y'all saw the episode. I don't need to go play by play, but we eventually find out that they're actually in the prison. Maggie had gotten there first because they were all trying to do things, but Macy and Mel, it all kind of stemmed from Macy and Mel not seeing eye to eye, right? So before we go a little bit more into the tomb situation and what that big plot point was, I guess we have to pause to talk about Mel's situation, where it all kind of started, where they had figured out the numbers could be said like a dialect and a language to open the thing. But before that, Mel had basically gone against the apartment chair, the department chair, and basically went on viral video, basically a dish, which is like, I guess the Vine or the TikTok of their world. And basically called out the department chair. I want to know, y'all, because we talked about this before when it came to Mel and how she functions sometimes. I felt like in the first season, she was kind of bullheaded and she would just rush into things. I think in season 2, they kind of switched her depending on what they needed her to do. And it was interesting because I don't know, I felt like I had seen growth from Mel. So it was very weird when she straight up did that, kind of jeopardizing her whole career. I mean, I'm glad it worked out in the end, but at the same time, I was like, okay, that's really foolish. What did you think, Ma?
First, did she sign? I don't think she signed that waiver or something.
No, she definitely didn't sign the waiver because she went on the video.
So that was good. I thought it was good. She wanted them to know. I guess it was in her, so she just had to talk about it. But so that's what it was, her memory. But remember, she wanted to stop, and that's when Maggie told her, "You got to keep this going so we can find out what happened next." That's how they with all the memories they was doing.
Yeah,
everything that happened.
But I guess I'm asking you, would you have done that if you were in Mel's situation, knowing that the dean had kind of audited you, probably as some kind of retaliation, let you know you're being watched kind of deal. And then she kind of goes to the speak out and goes on video calling out the dean, basically jeopardizing her whole entire job and her career.
Yeah, and that's what what I did. That's what you asked me if I went.
Yeah, would you have done it? And did you agree with what she did? And let us know in the chat, y'all thoughts on that. Do you think this shows? I guess my question to you, Mom. Yeah, I guess my question to you, Ma, and others is: did you think this showed growth on Mel's part? Because I kind of felt like, I mean, I'm glad it worked out, but it was such a season 1 Mel thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that was Mel in season 1 who would have done something like that. And I felt like when she had, like, you know, calmly talked to me and saying, hey, let me let you know I can't do this, that was more her growth. And I had even talked about it in previous streams where I'm like, yo, this really showed growth on her part. Because any other time she'd be like, kind of like Macy called her, ready to burn it all down, including herself. And I was like, that showed growth. So when I saw that she did that, I was like, wow, that's out of left field. Did you think it was growth, or do you think they just kind of made her do it?
I think they just made her do it because they just showed she just rushed in.
Yeah.
But I think she was really upset because they was trying to silence her. So, you know, Mel is the type that you can't silence. And, you know, she's not going to be threatened by it. Mm-hmm. That they was threatening her just not to do something. So she called her out. I think I was, in a way, when I did that.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay. I don't know. I just felt like we were watching season 1 Mel. And I was like, I thought we got past season 1 Mel. But, you know, life isn't linear either. We all have our moments where we'd be like, man, I could have handled that way better. And even she kind of instantly had regret when she saw how viral it went. But at the same time, she was kind of vindicated because of cancel culture, which I'm so tired of hearing about right now, and real world stuff about cancel culture. And it was like, in this way, it was kind of the messaging on the show that cancel culture works because the dean was canceled. And I'm like, okay, in this sense it worked because the dean was out of line, but at the same time, Mel kind of was like, okay, so anytime you get off, you're going to just like air someone out immediately. Like she did it the same day of getting asked to sign the NDA.
Yeah, but she didn't sign it and say that's a good thing because that's why I was wondering. I said, if she signed that, can't they get her for that?
Yeah, but I don't know.
So she didn't sign it.
Yeah. Zay is saying she should be lucky that she wasn't fired. Damie is saying Mel is hot-headed. She's the least grown of the sisters. Jordan is saying, when they said the numbers were sounds, I thought they were going to sing. I thought we might get a little hard. Yeah, when they were opening up the thing, I was like, oh, they about to sing up in here. Stephanie is saying, I think there was growth because she chose mediation at first. It was the NDA that set her off. So baby steps. I agree with you, Stephanie. I do think that you're right about that. She did actually ask for a regular meeting and she wanted some retribution. You're right. The NDA was what set her off. It was kind of like, oh my gosh, now I have to do an NDA on top of that. Like you want to silence me for pointing this out. So I get that. Still though, I don't know. I was just like, so really? Like you couldn't like fight the NDA like without blasting it like that? But I get it. Oh, Dane is saying, I'm proud of her. She stood up for what is right, even when you may lose your job. That's true. That's true. Jayla saying, I love this Mel who fights for others. She's a true leader and a shero. Okay. Erica saying, I think that's what I love about Mel. Her fire inside is back. Laugh out loud. But yeah, that was a bit much. I would not have done that personally. NerfNet saying, I was excited to see her figuring her problems out in a different way than she used to. Still, just like last week with Maggie, sometimes we fall back on our old habits. That's very true. Like I was saying, NerfNet, you make a good point. Life's not linear. You know, you can make some growth and sometimes, you know, you do something else.
Yes.
You know? Jordan said, I was a little reckless, but she did make her point. And I love how her students rallied behind her. Yeah. Blue Wolf is saying she did good. It's good seeing Mel go back to her being a social justice warrior. Damien is saying, I don't think she's grown. She's the same as season 1. But I admit, I do like she doesn't settle for crap. She just needs better ways to handle situations sometimes. Yeah. Liliana is saying, I feel like her activism is too much of a main characteristic to be completely gone or subdued. Not that I think they write Mel consistently in terms of behavior. I think that's my thing. I feel like Mel sometimes is the least consistently written. And so when they make her do major things like that, sometimes it feels like it's out of nowhere. where it's like, well, I thought we went a different direction, but they don't show it consistently. So when something like this happens, it's like, darn, all right. Like, all right, so she's back to that. Blue Wolf says Mel needs to find a way to balance. It's not being over the top.
Yeah. Meditation.
Yeah. Zay was saying on a moral level, she fought for the sake of her students, so it's commendable. But at the same time, she needs to play the game a bit because she may have won now, but it looks bad on her after. Yeah. Yeah, Liliana points out, we did get to hear her saying how playing the game isn't her thing. That's more of a Macy thing. Her nickname from her dad is Little Bull. So it's just who Mel is, fighting for what she believes. Jay Lee, thanks for joining us in chat. Jay Lee is saying, if you think about Mel's development, it was pretty stagnant last season. So that's why she's the same as season 1. That is true too. And that's what we're talking about, right? It's like, it's not, they don't give her that consistency. And I think sometimes, yes, her social justice warrior thing is a main part of who she is. But I think sometimes the writers depend on it so much that it almost becomes a bit much, where it's like, there's other facets of her personality than that, right? Like, what else is Mel into besides just fighting Sailor Moon style, fighting evil by moonlight or something, like, what else is she into? What's her hobby or something, like, I don't know. I just feel like we get Maggie in a holistic way. We get Macy to a degree, very much in a holistic way. And I feel like Mel, it's either she's social justice warring it right now, this episode, or she is having relationship problems. So it kind of goes, that's her 2 main modes they have with her. Not, hey, I checked out this really cool, movie that I like. Yeah, I don't know, something that's just not those 2 modes.
They don't know how to take Mel in another direction just yet. Maybe they're trying to,
maybe
they want her to keep, being bullheaded and going on and do it, or are they trying to just make her see that she's growing up a little and that she can handle certain things without rushing into it?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Blue Wolf is saying, I was about to say that she only has 2 modes. Yeah, she seems to only kind of have 2 modes, while Macy has her insecurity sometimes. Macy also has her scientific way. Macy has the love struck Macy. Macy has so many different kinds. Macy has her baking that she does. There's so many different facets of Macy, right? There's different facets of Maggie. And I feel like with Mel, they just kind of do two modes with her.
When she was trying to do spells and everything, she knew all their spells and everything, making the potions and everything. They should let her go back to that. I mean, I'm not understanding why.
Yeah, that was the thing. Mel was doing such a good job studying the book and the potions and stuff. And now they've seemingly kind of given that back to Harry. Harry's the one telling them, oh, it was in this thing and I read this. Yeah. When that was kind of Mel's thing. She was really honing her skills. And I kind of liked seeing that aspect of her. And now it's kind of, now that she's back at the school.
They just got this two dimensions of her with the teacher, but she's not doing what she most like to do.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining. Thanks for, jumping in and saying, hey. Jay Lee is saying, that's why I would have liked to see them run the magic community for a while in season 2, so Mel could grow as a leader fighting for the magical community. I think that would have brought some growth. I agree with you. Something a little bit different. Yeah. Jed points out she was supposed to be reconstructing the Book of Shadows, which we have not heard about, right?
That's
once again another thing that's just kind of, yeah. Okay, so that was kind of Mel's thing. She ended up kind of going viral, so it was cool. No big, but it was also like, did she learn her lesson? Like, because it kind of ended up winning, so probably not. And then we had Macy's situation, right? Macy's situation is that we got a little bit more focus on her dealing with Safe Space and dealing with the board of directors who kind of wanted to tell her no very quickly. And we saw this through Maggie's flashback of her memory, where, they wanted to open up a space to do pro bono lawyer work. And I was so happy to see that Jordan was going to be the one heading in, because I think I said something like that. I was like, oh, that's going to be a way for Jordan to have his office in Safe Space. That's so great. And then when I saw that it was kind of like it didn't work out, and Macy was just like, I tried and they didn't do it. It was very interesting, because what ended up happening, Mel kind of called her out for it when when Macy and Mel was going at it, when Macy found out what Mel did at the college, she was like, I know you want to always burn it all down, but sometimes you got to play the game. And of course, Mel's like, I'm not comfortable playing the game. But even Mel pointed out to Macy, she was like, you just rolled over when the board told you no, you didn't even fight. And in a way, I agreed with her. At the same time, I was like, Mel, you've never ran a business. So, I mean, she's got a board of directors. Like, what's she supposed to do? She has a board of directors. What's she supposed to do? Have a protest against her own company? Like, they didn't want to let me go online.
I didn't know. I thought he gave that. I mean, I thought
he did, but there's still a business which has a board of directors, which are the people who invest their money. I think that's kind of the way some businesses run, where the president or the main owner isn't the only person that can make all the decisions, kind of a deal. So we had that. And where's your light, lady? Did it go off?
Is it going on?
Where's the other light?
Wait a minute, hold it.
We gotta see your Wakanda. Put that light on you.
This one isn't quite. It's not. I don't think it's.
Well, that's fine. We got to see you in your lovely. Good, that one. Yes. I'm like, I can't see my Wakanda warrior mother.
Can you see me?
A little bit. Put on the light a little bit more. Tech difficulties, y'all. Okay. I want y'all to see the beauty that is the woman that birthed me. So with Macy, what we got, I felt like it was a thing with Mel where it was like I was like, well, Mel, you've never run a business. What you gonna do? Have her protest herself? That's not always how it works. But in the end, Macy did kind of do a little thing that Mel did, but was kind of playing the game a little bit on Macy's thing because she, did the numbers. She figured it out. She figured something out. She was strategic. And then even when the consultant woman was telling her, okay, I got to take this back to the board, she's like, well, I just want you to know I announced it to everyone already. Yeah. So you don't want to look like you're like, yeah. And I was like, see, that is playing the game. So I kind of felt like it was one of those things where we saw both of their strengths. Mel was kind of vindicated in the sense that she did do something bullheaded, but it actually worked in her favor because her students, and it was a noble cause, right? It wasn't like she was wrong in what she was saying. And the students, rallied behind her. And Macy, applying her smarts and her strategic playing of the game, was able to pretty much twist the boards back. So I like that. So I liked Macy's thing a bit more than Mel's because I felt like she got vindicated a bit with that. Damien is pointing out, exactly, Mel, you haven't run a business before. What Mel said upset Macy. Exactly, because she kind of called Macy a pushover. And it's like, Macy's like, yo, I have a whole business. Like, what am I supposed to do? Burn it all down? Like, I run this place. This isn't some corporation, that's burning the rainforest or something that I can chain myself to the thing against. This is my own company. I have to try to figure this out. Damie was saying, I love that Macy is the boss, but not bossy. She's so respectful of Swan's opinions in her absence. Boss Macy is amazing. Jaylee is saying, Macy is really coming into her own with being more assertive, and I love that. It's a nice holdover from finding out her personality was suppressed by her parents. Exactly. So there's a lot more like through line with her, which I like a bit more, which I don't think we always get with Mel sometimes. But like Jordan is pointing out, I love how Mel and Macy learned from each other this episode and balanced each other out. Jaws is saying they actually felt like sisters this episode to me, especially learning from each other. Exactly. I think there was a little bit more of it's not like I feel like Mel and Macy, if they allow it to show a bit more, is that they're not the sisters who are like, oh, I love you. Oh, I love you. They're the sisters who kind of get on each other a little bit. And then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. That's the kind of bond they have. And I think it's good to have a different dynamic than we're all just so happy with each other all the time. That's not how all siblings are. My mom, she had 7 other siblings. She came from a clan of 8. right? All of you all had different dynamics. You had the one maybe that you were really close to, then one of my uncles maybe you butted heads with, your twin, my Uncle Kenny, y'all were like, just different dynamics, so it's I think it's more realistic.
But
in
the
that
main
way.
thing is that if anybody messed with the family,
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, even if y'all didn't see eye to eye, so I like that about Mel and Macy. I don't need them to be like totally understanding of each other. I don't think it'd be realistic because they are very much different from each other. Ray is saying, I felt like we saw Macy grow from Mel in a meaningful way, but Mel didn't take anything from this. But I do love Mel. Yeah, she didn't learn anything because she got vindicated. Liliana is saying, I love whenever she pulls out scientist Macy. Yeah. Nerfnet is saying, I like how Mel and Macy didn't do it alone. Mel had inspired her students and they supported her and protested. Macy got together with Safe Space tenants to help find the legal clinic, working together. Exactly. I agree with you on that. They saw the strength in their community, which is kind of a little bit of a theme of how them as sisters, when they come together with their powers, they are the most powerful, right? It's never a solo effort. There's no I in team, as they say.
No.
So that was kind of their two plot lines as like personalities, right? And I love that we saw that from Macy, and I love that we saw that from Mel. A little bit more in this regard, but that was, I think they both, it was nice. It was a nice mixture because they worked it out within the prison. And then we had the situation with Maggie, and that's more on the ship thing, but I feel like we can talk about it a little bit because I want to talk about her and Jordan and the ship thing a little bit. With her and Antonio, I feel like Antonio's a plot line, right? Antonio right now to me is this thing of, she saw the premonition. She really doesn't want it. She really doesn't want to deal with Antonio. And this is where, if we can connect this back to the, if we connect this back to the prison, is that the prison was, as Macy was pointing out, is that it confuses things. It thinks it's giving you what you want, but it's actually confusing memories, like glitches and stuff. It gets things wrong, right? Like we found that when Maggie was like, yeah, I put your name on Macy's name on a lunchbox, but I spelled her name wrong. I would never spell your name wrong. And like, that's when Mel was like, of course she won it. And the same thing with the picture. Like, even when I saw that picture of her and Antonio on the bed, I'm like, when did they take that photo?
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Like, was she taking photos with this guy? I was already mad. But then we find out that it wasn't a real photo, that it was basically the prison being confused, thinking that it was giving Maggie real memories, but in reality, it was just playing on what was already on her mind, which I thought was interesting. And we could dive into that a little bit more, when it comes to ship talk and that whole dynamic. But through that, Maggie was able to say, if you push through it like a cloud, you finally can see clear. So she pushed through the haze of what was going on with Antonio that the prison was trying to get on her to be able to see clearer. So I thought that was mature on her, on her part. And it was kind of creepy, right? Like Macy was like, this, she even said it. She was like, this prison deserves a Nobel Prize, like with how smart it is. Because at first it made them think they had got out, but then that's when they saw the picture and realized, no, there's no way, that's a glitch because, Macy's in that photo.
Yeah. And then they saw the guy.
Yeah, and that was earlier with the guy, and that's how we found out that Mel had gotten like audited and stuff. At first, when they had that picture of the guy, I thought that was like the demon or something, like he was going to be some type of old god of memories or something, and that's why he had a picture. But then he just turned out to be the auditor. So in the real world,
and that's when they had to think that, and they saw it,
Yeah. So so we got that, and so what we eventually find out with the tomb of chaos is that this is definitely the prison. And it was interesting because the prison was showing them everything that they wanted to see. But once they were able to push through, like Maggie had told them, push through the memories, push through the thing that she kind of took Macy's advice in this one, where she was like, don't focus on what you don't want because it just grows bigger. Focus on your goal, which was very smart. Macy's very smart, of course. And that's when Maggie kind of said it back to them and they were able to push through. So then the house disappears and they see that it really is a hellscape. It really is a prison. And they're able to get out because the first monster that they first vanquished showed up and they were able to realize that wasn't real and they got out.
Yeah.
I I like the prison
They
world.
took a chance because if it's not real, well, you're dead. Well, the way you run through the monster or whatever.
Yeah. Erica's pointing out Maggie's safe space, in safe space, was Jordan's gym. You can't tell me this is not cute. He is her anchor. Yes, we can talk about that with Ship Talk, but there were some things that I felt worked well for Maggie and Jordan this episode. Not directly, but it was definitely there. And same, Erica. I'll talk about that in a second. How I too was waiting for that picture of her and Antonio to change to a picture of her and Jordan. And I was like, what's going on here? Why is it not a picture of her and Jordan? But okay. John's is saying, honestly, Maggie's visions are like Raven Baxter. She never really gets the full picture. So I knew that Antonio love interest thing had to be a fake. Well, it might be. And we'll talk about that in Ship Talk, because right now we still don't know. You know, she doesn't want it to happen, but we still don't know if it comes true the way she's thinking it, right? Like that hasn't been completely resolved. Although in a way she did kind of close the door on it literally by just basically being like, I don't want this. So maybe that was her doing that, but we'll see it. Maybe she gets the premonition again. So we don't know if it's completely done with. Jayla is saying they must not deal with humans who have complex emotions and memory. Yeah, the prison, definitely. Like the prison seemed to have more monsters. So the prison had the monsters that were probably a little bit more straightforward, but then it was dealing with 3 different personalities, 3 different women. And that was probably why the prison was glitching the way it was, because it couldn't keep up with them figuring things out. I loved when Macy was starting to lose her mind and she tried to play her
music.
She tried to play her voice back, but it turned out to be the music, and she just started, oh my gosh, she's such a great actress, but she just starts vibing to it like, okay, like this is pretty good. Like, I was like, it's so cute. So it was some cool moments. It was definitely a creepier episode. It was like big things didn't happen necessarily, but certain things were found out, right? They closed the gap, or they put a Band-Aid on it, as Harry said, right? They kind of closed the gap for now, even though it was pretty much a rip in the dimension. They closed it for the moment because it was them coming out, the monsters or whatever these things are were coming out in Seattle. And then we find out they had only been gone for 4 hours, even though for Maggie it felt like 42 days. And that because of the boom that was happening, there are a whole bunch of monsters coming out, right?
Because that a lot of them escaped. Every time when the light came on, or the boom, that was showing that somebody was getting out.
Yeah. So go ahead, Mom.
So they still have to try to round them up.
Yeah. So they said, and we saw that at the end of the episode because Jordan makes an appearance. We got our fave 5 all in one room, which I love. Our 5 core.
I can't wait to see next week. I want to see what is it. The way he was like a pig or something. I said, oh, I gotta see this one.
He was like pig with you. And I thought this is well, I mean, of course it was fun seeing that, but at the same time, I was like, oh, the core 5. They're the core 5. Jordan, Harry, and the 3 sisters. I'm like, yeah, we got a little cast here. We love to see it. We just needed Swan showing up. That would have been cool. And then we would have had our 6. NerfNet is saying, if you're going to have intrusive thoughts, a sexy jock in a towel is not a bad one to have. Damie is pointing out for Maggie, she's attracted to him, Antonio, but scared of it. Jaws is saying it was a great filler episode, but it still managed to push the plot. Exactly. At first, I was thinking this was going to be a bottle episode where it was going to be like a one-off. Some demon traps them in a maze or something like that, and that's it. But in this regard, that wasn't necessarily the case. It actually, at least towards the end, helped them figure out. It was like, like Macy said, now we know how to get to the prison world. The question is, now we need to deal with all the monsters that came out and figure out
how to get them back.
Yeah, how to put them back, but also who created the world, who created the prison, right? Because, even Mel, it was funny because we talked about this in the last stream. Mel was calling out for a warden. Like we had talked about if there was a warden. Mel was calling out like, guard, is there a guard here? And
I saw one was going to pop. I'm looking like, is one going to pop up?
Yeah, I was ready for it. I
Yeah,
was
I was
ready.
like, okay,
I was
more
like,
pop up
maybe
than you
someone's gonna
know.
pop up and say, hey, that's what you're supposed to be. It seems like it's a self-running prison. So I think it's more so not necessarily someone actively running it, kind of like Macy said, like it's kind of like a smart magical AI, and the question is who created this smart magical AI? And as others have been saying, all of you have been saying in the chat, that maybe it was the original of this world, charm ones, like maybe the very first charm ones who created this world, because they didn't want to kill off every monster, but they wanted to trap it. And that's interesting, because the question that they're going to have to deal with is, if someone else basically just put these things in these beings in a prison. So far, the charm ones, the sisters, have been killing these things, right? Like, they killed the monster in the beginning, the first one that popped out. I'm pretty sure they vanquished the love struck demon dude. The orb wasn't really anything; it was just kind of a thing. But they've been killing these things thus far. So the question is, why was someone? It seems like they're able to be killed. So why was someone just simply putting them in prison as opposed to doing what the charm ones are doing now? Why just put them on? I mean, I honestly think it's the more, humanitarian thing to do, to put them in prison, but for all their lives, I guess. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that's a plot hole, or do y'all think that's going to get explained? Why it's like, why did someone build a prison in the first place if the charmed ones could just pretty much vanquish these evildoers?
But there's, like you said, there's a reason behind it and why they did it. So I think it's a plot.
Okay, so you think the writers have thought this out?
Yeah, I hope they thought that out, because it's all gonna come to when it starts getting to that final episode, that whatever, and then everything will come, and then we have to be curious again about how they're gonna bring it all together.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a plot line, because we know that. Okay, we're figuring somebody made the prison.
Mm.
Why did they put them in there? To keep them from which world? Our world or their world?
Yeah. And why keep them alive, right?
Yes. And why you keep them alive? But that sounds like if you thought about mythology with the Titans.
Oh yeah, the Titans. But the thing is, the Titans couldn't be killed, right?
Yeah, Zook just kept them down in hell or whatever it was.
But wasn't it that way because he couldn't kill them? So he had to basically just trap them.
Yeah, he had to trap them.
And I guess that's my question, because I'm like, okay, someone clearly decided they weren't going to kill these beings. But it seems like the charm ones are able to just kind of deal with them. So it's like, what's going on here? Why did someone make it in the first place if they could have just been vanquished? You know what I mean?
See, that's the question.
Yeah. And there's a lot of questions. And I like that this moved the story forward. Also, y'all, if you haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, please do so. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you want to show us some love with a super chat, donation, or, to highlight a question, please feel free to do so. Although, y'all chatting is always a great time as well. Jayla is saying, yeah, Abigail isn't smart or strong enough to be the one behind, let's be real, behind the prison. I think that'd be too complicated of a thing for her. This is This is like prehistoric type of magic. So I think this is above her pay grade in that regard. Jaws is saying, I wonder if Celeste had something to do with making it. She's been around for a long time. Exactly. Yeah. And we actually talked about this, Jaws, in the previous, one of the previous streams, where I asked the question. I'm like, have they asked anybody else about this stuff? But, others pointed out there's been a 3-month time jump from season 2 to season 3, or at least the real season 3. So the question could be that maybe they did and those people didn't have answers. But especially for characters like Celeste and stuff, it would have been nice to see them have at least mentioned it, because it does leave it wondering in your head, why wouldn't you ask one of the oldest witches that you know? Would they not know of myth and legends of people before the time of the elders? I mean, if Celeste was there for the beginning of the elders, then there has to be some idea from the people who started it of what it was before they began, right? There had to be some sort of, a structure before the elders took over. So why not hear that from them, you know?
Yeah,
yeah. Melania is saying it seemed Twilight Zone-ish philosophically in that one is only as imprisoned as one allows oneself to be. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely for the charm ones. I think for everyone else, there wasn't a rip before. So the question still remains, who possessed the charm ones to open it? And it seems like it had to be the charm ones to open this gap that let these beings out, which kind of goes to a lot of people's theories that it was probably some ancient charm ones that created it in the first place. So I'm with y'all on that theory for the most part, definitely. Jordan is saying, I think Celeste or the guardian from the tree made the prison because they proposed being around long. They're supposed to have been around long, and the guardian was a charm one. Exactly. But once again, we didn't see, there's been no reference on them having asked her anything, the guardian of the tree. So I think that's a little bit of I don't know, I think it's an oversight. Yeah.
They needed to go back. I mean, that's
yes, y'all. Give the video some likes if you haven't already. Always, we love the likes, and that way other people can see it, because YouTube and algorithms can come in and join on the replay or the live chat while we're still going. O'Dane is saying, I think it could have been some gods and goddesses out them for who did it. I agree. I think that, I'm excited because I love mythology. I don't know about y'all. I love the whole thing of Egyptian mythology, African mythology, Greek mythology and things like that. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they pull on for this. Are they going to deal with the gods and goddesses? Because it's kind of sometimes harder to deal with that when you have magical beings that run the magical realm. But it's like, is the magical realm everything that's not the human realm, or is there another realm for gods and goddesses, and they run things on their side in their dimension and things? I think they're gonna have to. They figured this out, right? They wrote the season, but it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I think. Zay is saying this is somewhat off topic. Point, but I'm curious as to why we haven't seen the sister zap away from some rando on the street. Safe Space has a lot of supernatural people, so why hasn't it happened yet? Budget, probably, or maybe just, it's a good question. I think they're probably trying to keep it simple. If there are a lot of magical beings that are around, that's maybe they're just kind of secluding. It'll be interesting if they, I would imagine they can't go to the clubs or anything like that. That might be kind of awkward if they bump into a ferry or something like that. Ray is saying, I really see the importance of the elders after seeing all the chaos in their absence. And this is all because Charity and her went rogue. Yeah. And her sister went rogue. Josh saying, if it's some ancient charm ones, I'd love to actually get to see them and have them meet. I agree. I think that would be cool. In terms of what you're saying, Ray, about the government, I didn't like the elders. I was so happy when they got rid of the elders, or the elders pretty much got taken out in a way, because I felt like they kind of ran a little bit of a dictatorship in a way, because they just weren't very open to change, and they had a lot of rules that just seemed archaic. And I think had they maybe been a little bit more democratic in the sense of, elders get voted in or something like that, and it's not just these people that just get to rule over everyone's life for however they're alive, which is like decades and stuff, I would have been for them a bit. But I felt like season 1 really showcased how out of touch they were in the magical community with all the rules. But I thought they were going to do this. I expected in season 2 for the charm ones to kind of take over and be the new elders in a way, to some degree. And I feel like, I don't know if they just decided to you can't really call it an anarchy, because it's not anarchy, but no one's really in charge. No one has any rules for anything. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. So it's a bit much, I do think they can, yeah, I think I agree with you that there needs to be some type of structure put back in place for just safety and stuff for the magical world. I'm just not on board that it has to be the elder structure again. But I do think the charm ones need to step up or appoint somebody. I don't know. Damie is saying, thank you, Hunter, for getting rid of the elders. Bye to their crappy rules. Yes. No love for the elders in some of the chat. Jaylee is saying, I see what you mean about the elders, but how has there not been more chaos with the governing body of the magical community dying? That too. There probably has been. There was a war going on for a bit, right? There was a straight up war. So there was chaos, but they don't have a ruling government. It's funny, the demon world has a ruling government still, but the witches don't. The demon government still puts people in charge. It's the witches that are on some anarchy stuff right now, but I guess they're not dealing with it. I don't know if that's just kind of a plot hole that they're just not addressing at the moment, but I do think it does need to be addressed a bit. I mean, how do you go from having the elders and then there's no elders? How is there not a power grab going on in the witch community? Not all the witches are love and light, right? Not all witches are love and light. How is there not a power grab going on? You know?
Yeah, I don't think they even thought about that. They haven't even went back to that.
Yeah. But you would think someone would be like, hey, we got to figure out who's going to do what, because we're just kind of doing our own thing right now, you know? So
maybe we'll start seeing more. They're trying to come more with it, you know?
Yeah, maybe. But I thought it was a solid episode in the regard that they now know that they know how to get into Tomb of Chaos. They just don't know who's running it, and that's the big mystery. Now,
and that's what they got to try to find out.
We need to go to Ship Talk.
Okay.
Ship Talk. And the reason why I'm going to Ship Talk because it wasn't a lot of ship stuff. Just a little bit of ship stuff. Okay, so Maggie and Antonia, what did you think about that whole dynamic, Ma?
Nothing.
I didn't think anything of
it. I really didn't. But
do you think there's something there with a romance, or do you think Maggie's premonition is really what she thinks it is, or maybe she's making more out of it than it really is?
I think she's. See, that's a hard question because he likes her.
Yeah,
he likes her.
We don't know if it's romantic yet, though. He could just honestly just think she's a cool person.
Yeah, but he likes her. When they started like that, they like her. She like him. But I don't think I don't think it's fair for them to go that way with him. Because I think I'm for Jordan.
Yeah.
I think
Jordan, I am too.
Yeah, I'm for Jordan.
They have such a natural chemistry about them.
Yeah, they came out good together when they first met and everything, you know.
Yeah. Like I loved it when they had went to, even though it was a memory, when Maggie and Jordan had went into Macy's office like a family almost, kind of like, hey, and they're just all talking because they're all so close with each other. And clearly her and Jordan are hanging out. And so there's something going on that clearly she has feelings for him, but she's kind of focusing on herself. But Jordan hasn't like gone MIA. He's still clearly being around her. And I think that just shows how Jordan is as a person, but how he's kind of maybe deciding he's willing to wait. But what we had was, also that memory of Antonio, as Damien is pointing out, calling Maggie Maxter.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is about. And even Macy's like, Maxter? Like, what is going on? Like, okay. So I don't know. I felt like, to me, I did want, when Maggie was changing the picture, I had hoped that the picture would transform from her and Antonio to her and Jordan. I thought that would have been a better, clear indication of that situation. But they didn't go that route, maybe because they're really sticking with the idea of her staying single this season. But I did like the fact that basically Maggie made the decision of, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to have to deal with you. Now, I would have liked her explanation to be not just, oh, I want to be single, but, well, I also have feelings for another guy. Like, not just, oh, I want to be single, but also, by the way, I still have this wonderful dude that's around me that when I am ready, I want to give him a shot. And she didn't say that. So I don't know. What do y'all think in the chat and in the replay? Let me know, because I want to be happy about that she's very adamant about not falling for Antonio. But I would have wanted a bit more very distinctive her and Jordan moments. And I don't feel like we got that as much as I would have liked. Yeah. Damien is saying yes to Joggy, no to Maggie and Antonio. Jayla is saying, I look forward to Jordan working pro bono at Macy's clinic. Exactly. Jordan is saying, I'm glad Maggie is trying to stop the premonition because I do like her with Jordan. Jaylee is saying, and am I the only one who thought the picture was going to be Parker? Not to bring him back, just that it was morphed. Yeah, that maybe it was just like a false memory, that maybe she still had a memory of Parker because that wasn't the real memory. It did stand out to me that Macy pointed out that originally before they thought they got out, she was like, the prison is mixing up hate with love. And that was interesting, right? Because they had her thinking about Antonio. Not that I think Maggie necessarily hates Antonio, but I definitely don't think it's anywhere close to love. So it was interesting that maybe the prison, just because Antonio was on her mind, that it figured, oh, this must be your boyfriend because that's who you keep thinking about. But in reality, even Maggie was like, I don't want him. Like I'm just thinking about him because I was trying to focus on the elephant in the room kind of a deal. So I thought that made sense. Melina is saying, I can't do the enemies to lovers trope. Not with Antonio. When you see someone for who they are at the outset, believe it. Good, bad, ugly. Joggy all the way. Exactly. Like he kind of started off, talking over her and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, like I said when I first saw the guy, I'm like, yeah, he's good looking, and they had him have his shirt off this episode. They had to do that. But it was also kind of like, yeah, it was like, do we really want to go down this route with her? So I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't come to fruition or that it changes and that she was off by what it was. Jayla is saying, Maggie does seem a bit selfish. I don't like how she thinks she can keep Jordan on the back burner. Like you all, I am hoping, I hate, maybe it's because I love Jordan as much as I do. I kind of want to see Maggie jealous. Like, I don't want it to be that Maggie gets to see some other guy and then Jordan's sitting there wondering like, yo, you told me you wanted to stay single and now you're hooking up with some guy that you started off not liking. I wanted to be like, okay, you keep, keeping me at arm's length.
Well, I think we have that because if Jordan have that clinic there, he's going to need a secretary or somebody to help him.
Yeah, right? So, or a partner, maybe another lawyer woman. And, Maggie starts getting, because something has to click, I mean, I get the whole I want to be single type thing. But at the same time, I'm like, there's a sign of maturity to know that you can also grow without necessarily being by yourself as well, especially if you have someone there and life is short. I mean, they're always risking their lives. You would think with them, like Macy, I came to the conclusion about Harry. She was like, we're always risking our lives. I don't want to spend a second away from someone I care about when at any moment we could all die. But Maggie seems to be like, no, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, what? And then I guess Jordan is supposed to be cool with that, even though he's got a curse on his head and his family. All right, Maggie, he'll just wait for you.
So I really need for them to get that. They just jumping from plot to plot, and then you're not fully going all the way to deal with one plot, like with him, and then they got Abigail's situation. But right now their situation, it's just they're trying to tie all of them together. It's kind of hard to keep up with. I just want Jordan to get over with the curse.
I do too. Yeah. Johns is saying Maggie is just hesitant because it's so obvious they want to be together, but because of the allergy, she's keeping a distance at least until that's figured out. And I agree with you. I think it's very obvious they want to get together, which was why I wanted more of that in this episode. I didn't want it to just be, oh, I want to be single. I don't want to deal with another guy right now. I'm like, Jordan's not just another guy. Like, don't group him and Antonio together as just distractions for you. Like, Jordan is a part of your life. Beyond that. So I guess maybe it was just me being a little frustrated and having my bias as you all are saying, a Jorgie shipper, where I was like, yo, what's good? Blue Wolf is saying, I have a feeling Maggie and Jordan are going to break up. Blue Wolf, they haven't even gotten together yet. Maggie's got to give them a chance to be in a relationship before they get together. and that doesn't seem to be going on. Urzuli, thanks for joining us today, Urzuli, is saying Jordan wasn't even into Maggie when they first met, and now he is the puppy dog. I get that, but I mean, he saw who she was, he got to know her, and it was a nice growth, you know? It was growth, as that GIF says, you know? Liliana saying, maybe the lady lawyer we saw in the previous episode helping Jordan out in the clinic. Maybe. She was cute. Stephanie is having issues with the name choice, y'all. We got to have a fandom meeting. She's not necessarily for Georgie. She wants Vera Chase. That's also a good name. Georgie is cute, though. It's like Georgie, but Vera Chase sounds slick. Y'all vote in the chat. Let us know in the chat and also in the replay which ship name should we go with for them. Jayla saying, I wouldn't mind Jordan and Swan. They had cute chemistry on the low in season 2. Yeah, although I'm all about Jordan and Maggie right now. I'm just not feeling the way Maggie's going about this. So I mean, in terms of, that was the main ship talk, because that was kind of the main thing with her and Antonio. I don't think her and Antonio are going to be serious, but I do think they're going to have to address it. So I guess we'll see when they address it. I just kind of hope that it's not going to be something that turns into something, because if the writers are being honest and genuine about wanting Maggie to kind of focus on herself, don't add a triangle that's not even a triangle, because she's not really with any of them, you know. So I'd rather not have that. The other ship wasn't really hacy. I know Damie was in the chat saying she didn't get her hacy fix. So I didn't get it either. And I guess I want to briefly talk to whatever that was kind of reaction Harry had. It was kind of like he came out, his hands are in his pocket. You made it. And I'm like, yo, they just disappeared into a prison world and were like gone for 4 hours. Why are you not more concerned? Did you feel like he was a little subdued in that, Ma, when they fell out?
No, for a minute I thought they was just in another world, and that was Harry. I swore
you thought that was Jimmy.
Jimmy, yeah. I thought it was just, I said, wait, he's alive. And then when he said, you know, welcome back, I said, oh, okay, that's because I was gonna say, okay, they got out because they was in there. I was saying, well, okay, are they in another dimension or what?
Yeah, because he just seemed too chilled for me. I was like,
okay, they were Jimmy at, you know.
He was like, oh, you made it. Good. I knew you would. And I'm like, yo, your girl just disappeared for 4 hours into a dimension from prehistoric magical times. I feel like I need a little bit more fire here, my dude. Any other time, he's professing, I finally found the woman that I love and of my dreams, and all the other episodes. In this episode, it's good, you made it. Yeah, be right back. Like, what?
Okay. But then when what's name said we're back in Seattle?
Yeah.
Was she thinking to go back to where she originally came from? That's what I was thinking too.
I think she meant to be maybe closer to safe space or something. Maybe that.
Maybe where was they originally from when they had to escape from them? From that you know, when Jimmy came after them. What city was they in?
I can't remember. I think he took her to the East Coast. It might have been over in New York. He took when Jimmy had kidnapped Macy.
No, I'm talking about when Jimmy started trying to kill them, they had to go into hiding. But why was Seattle in? That's where they ended up at. But where did they come from originally? I mean,
that was. Y'all let us know in the chat. It was a different place in season 1, wasn't it? Where was it?
Yeah, they was living somewhere else, but
it wasn't Boston. It was like Midwest. I feel like it was Illinois. Man, I don't even know. You're right. I forgot. What state was that?
Yeah, where did they originally come from? Because they said they came to Seattle. You know.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought Mel was asking, like, "Oh, we're back in Seattle," like.
Oh yeah, no, they were back in where they, but it was on like where did they think they were gonna be? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Did she think she was going back to the original place of where they came? You know,
or maybe they were just kind of weirded out as to why they were dropped off in such a rando place in the like why Seattle why where they were? Why not some other faraway galaxy or something? You know, also it was kind of weird because it seemed like the rift was happening in the woods, yet they was dropped off at a construction site. Because every time we saw it, it seemed like the monsters were coming out of the woods, out of a rip in the woods. But yet for some reason, this was a construction site. So I don't know why that changed, or if it's just a different area that they coming out of. I don't know. Liliana's already got some theory that Harry was body snatched in the 4 hours they were gone. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. He just seemed, you know, he didn't seem like he was too worried. But Stephanie is also saying in the chat, maybe Harry's reaction shows just how much faith and confidence he has in the sisters, and low key his girl as well.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
that could be true.
Although, like, he's always ready to jump out in front of a dagger anytime it even looks like someone's looking Macy's way. So I don't know. I just felt like a little subdued, but I get the reasoning for that. Zay is saying Harry got up from his nap. He needed the rest due to all the back pain he's suffering from. Oh, y'all throwing shade. Y'all got jokes. Damien is saying when Harry walked in, he looked like Jimmy to me. He looked different.
Yeah, that's why I said when it came out, I'm like, is that Jimmy? Oh,
yeah. Y'all gonna make Erica think y'all gassing Erica up. Y'all gonna make her think her boo Jimmy is back. Jaylee is saying, I was okay with not getting Hacy this episode. We've been getting a lot lately, and I'm glad about that. But I also like seeing Macy separate from Harry. Agreed. And I like seeing her as a boss, you know, doing her thing this episode. Thanks for that. Hilltown was where they were, Mom. That's the original place.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, O'Dane. Mercenary X 84 saying so many of the characters were in black. That's usually reserved for the villainous characters. Yeah, that's an interesting. It was an interesting aesthetic choice, except for Maggie. I don't know what Maggie was wearing. Did you see her outfit? It was like she had like a yellow vest, leopard shirt, cargo pants. I don't know what that was. I was a little confused, but yeah, everyone else was wearing black.
I'm like, okay, we're not gonna get on their clothing because sometimes they dress like okay.
Yeah. Jayla is saying that on Twitter, the writer said Mel's part was supposed to be quicksand, but it had to be changed because of the Rona. Maybe they went into the rift intentionally in a different place originally. Yeah, maybe it had to get changed for that. Jaws is agreeing with me. Maggie looked the best. I don't know what she was wearing. She's supposed to be a fashion forward one. I don't know. Can't be perfect all the time, I guess.
Yes, it was. I'm like... She got on.
Yeah, she has been dressing well this season. I didn't know what that was about. I mean, they all look great no matter what they have on. They can wear plastic trash bags. I'd still say they look pretty. But I was just like, this is a choice. Like, I don't know what she's wearing, but it is a choice. Choices had been made in the morning. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, there wasn't much ship talk. We didn't get much of Harry. I was a little thrown off by the way Harry was acting, but maybe, they really did focus on the sisters this episode. And I think that's what a lot of us have been asking for. I think we all love when they have other plots with other people, but I think it's also nice to see them have that sisterly bond. And like I said, I was worried we weren't going to get that this season because of them kind of doing the separate thing, but I'm glad that they did it this episode. So, Mom, I don't know. Did you see the trailer for the next episode? It looks like there's some issues going on with Macy in terms of.
I'm trying to figure.
There's racism. That's what seems like it's going on.
I was going, wait a minute, but who raised her? Someone with her parents or something like that?
Was it something? I think she was there for some type of position or something, right? And then they did the thing you don't do to Black women. You don't touch our hair. You don't do that. Like, I don't care what you're wondering. Don't ask me where it's from. It's mine. Okay? Like, whatever's on my head, it's mine. Whether I grew it, whether I paid for it, or whatever. You don't touch it. So that was happening.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because, Macy looked really distraught. So I feel like I'm going to need to fight somebody next week for her, but that's very interesting. It seems like they're taking a little bit more. It didn't seem like it was very magic heavy for next episode, which is interesting.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I said, "Oh, bring you into that.
Yeah. Erica saying next week is going to trigger me. After all the times I have asked people not to touch my hair, even ask touch my hair when you have it natural. I am ready to square up for Macy. Yes. Zay is saying she's going to need a hug, but she needs a hug, but she can't get one, right? You know, who she's going to hug, you know, because everyone she's close to is magic. So I don't know how that's going to work. That's going to be a lot. Stephanie is saying the whites are at it again next episode. Damien is saying, looking forward to it. The actor said there's an episode that refers to what she's experienced as a Black woman. So, yeah, I think we're all going to have to, for those of us who have experienced that and things, it's going to could be a very triggering episode for sure. For definite. Yeah, she can hug Swan. Erica's saying she can hug Swan. Yes, Swan needs to be on reserve for the hug. So I guess we'll see where that goes. But do you have any predictions, Mom, before we wrap up?
Predictions? Not really.
Do you think next episode is going to be a one-off thing? Because they had this revelation, but now they seem like they're doing this thing with the discrimination that Macy's gonna. It doesn't even look like it's gonna be that much of a magical episode. Do you think we'll get more about the prison next episode, or you think they'll kind of table it for like an episode?
They'll probably table it for another episode. Because right now, if they put in that, because I think that's gonna be interesting, especially with the hair and white people and everything. So,
or racism in general, yeah.
I wonder what. Yeah, I guess they bring that in. Because of Black Lives That Matter and try and see how it goes there.
Well, I mean, it's not just Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's been put on center stage, of course. But this is the microaggressions that Black women have had to deal with is a thing. So I think it is interesting. I one of the reasons why I've loved this show has been because of the fact that you have these 3 women of color who are magical beings. 2 of them being, part Black and things like that. So I think that's cool. Magic May is saying the synopsis said that Mel and Harry will have a magic subplot. Okay, so there is going to be some magic going on. Stephanie's feeling like the promo is being misleading. Zay is saying not only with the hair, but the idea that Black people are all the same when Africa is a whole but continent. It is so dumb. Exactly. It's a continent. It's not a country, y'all, for people who still need to be told that. Damien is saying prediction. Macy Vaughn will become Macy Vaughn Greenwood later in the season. That is a good prediction. Harry and Macy getting married. Write it down because place your bets, y'all. Magic May is saying something about an ancient feud that's going to be happening with that. Jed is asking, what was your favorite quote of this episode? For me, it was I like the Wilson reference that Mel had, where she was like, she is straight Wilson, like right now when it came to Maggie talking to the yoga mat. I was like, I'm like Captain America. I was like, I understood that reference. I got it. I knew what she was talking about that. Stephanie is saying, I love Hacy, but marriage is too soon. Liliana is saying, or at least engaged would be good. An engagement at the end of the season would be nice. Maybe a marriage would be too quick for them, especially since they haven't been able to touch for months now. Let them have their time. Liliana is saying their favorite quote is tick, tick, boom. Maggie was very adorable in her crazed mind. It was very cute. She was like, when she got the glasses on, she's like, you gotta be prepared. I was like, yo, how's she this cute? Why was she so cute? I think there's a good amount to look forward to. I don't really have any predictions just because I think I'll probably have more predictions once we get a revelation of who is actually behind, at least who possessed them to open the thing. Like who possessed them to open the thing. I think open the gap for the dimension. I think once we get that, I'll have a little bit more of an understanding of where it's going. Because right now I don't know. I know it's mythology, but other than that, they've got me stumped. I'm kind of stumped right now. And I'm still hoping that this whole being a part allergy thing does not last all season. Like I need a hazy kiss somewhere in this season. Let them do it in their dream or something. I don't know, but come on. Like the whole season, when we finally got our ship. I mean, how ironic is it? We finally get our ship and they got this allergy for most of the season. Y'all, we got done dirty a little bit with that. But, life happens. So we know why they're doing it. But okay, y'all, that is the gist for most of it. Thank you all for joining us in the live chat, and those of you who have joined us on the replay. Please let me know your thoughts and theories. There was actually one we're going to talk about next. I meant to do it this one, but I wanted to talk about it more so when Abby is back on screen. And a lovely user of who watches the channel, who the name escapes me. I'll bring it up when I actually bring this question back up to y'all next season. They said something that really stood out to me about Abby. They were like, they got rid of Macy's demon plot line and feeling like she was kind of on the outside of her family. And they were saying the viewer was saying that they felt like Abby is something of a copy and paste of Macy when it comes to the mother, the issues with the mother, the issues with feeling on the outside of her family, the insecurity, the powers. She even got Macy's powers. Mm-hmm. So, and that kind of stood out to me. I was like, they did kind of cure Macy of her issues and her insecurities she was having of feeling on the outside of the family, and kind of gave it to Abby. And maybe that's why we don't get Macy's demon stuff, because the writers are like, well, we had to do that with Abby, so we can't do it with Macy. But that's I don't want to open up the can of worms just yet on that. I just want y'all to marinate on it, because I say that as a person who actually likes Abby, but I really did see the thoughts on that. Actually, go check out the if you haven't, the comment section for the previous live stream here, where the user whose name escapes me, I'll have it for next week, where they make a really good point on that. So I think that'll be good to talk about, because I had thoughts. I was like, well, I told her, I was like, you blew my mind just now, because I kind of didn't even think about that. I was like, why isn't Macy getting her powers back? What's going on? And it's like, because they're doing it with Abby. I was like, oh yeah. But okay, y'all, I actually have another stream I need to jump on. But thank you again for being here with us. Look out for the next time of the video next week, God willing, that we are here to be with you to do that. And if you have watched Justice League and want to do a deep dive with me and my brother, and my guy, Michael Damian, we did a deep dive on Saturday that you can check that out if you want to talk Justice League with us. But until next time, have a great rest of your week, y'all.
Enjoy.